If you were to crown one person in all of history the king of beating around the bush, I think it would be Jesus. Especially in the Gospel of John, where he can't seem to say anything in a straightforward manner. No wonder the disciples were dumbfounded all the time. As I mentioned in the newsletter this week, I was saddened to discover that I had chosen male Bible characters so far in our series on the Enneagram. But I'm really glad to have found a female 8 to discuss today. This past week was a lot of fun. 14 ladies from Erlanger Christian Church gathered on the beautiful grounds of Loretto Community in Nearinks, Kentucky, surrounded by rolling hills, huge tulip poplars, newborn calves, and fall foliage. We took a deep dive into the Enneagram personality types. The first 2 sessions were dedicated to learning about each individual number in detail so that we could accurately identify our dominant type. I'm happy to share that after 6 sessions and a lot of blabbing from me, everyone who attended had identified with a number. But my favorite part of the retreat was all the comments and asides made as we continued our discussions. Inside jokes were created and laughter was contagious. Because the group knew each other so well before coming to the retreat, there was no fear of offense. My favorite interactions were between Gail Knapp and Terry Ellis. They have a deep relationship built on love and friendship, and they had a blast ragging on each other, and I loved being a witness to their digs and comments. There is no doubt in my mind, or Terry's, that she is an Enneagram 8. I'm sure this comes as no surprise to most of you either. Terry is resourceful, innovative, tough, decisive, supportive, energetic, loyal, committed, inspiring, and smart. This is why you brought your family today. But in her 8-ness, she is also a force to be reckoned with. She is not afraid to speak up and speak out. Matter of fact, she made it very clear how best to communicate with her going forward. If you drop a hint, I'm not going to pick it up. Just tell me what you want me to do. I think she said that at least 5 times this week. 8s are straightforward people. They don't like it when you beat around the bush. Susan Stabile says 8s don't want you to to protect them from the facts or coddle them by leaving out the unpleasant details. In an 8's mind, there's a lot at stake. If they don't know the truth, then they don't know what's really happening. And if they don't know what's really happening, then they're not in control. And not in control is where 8s never want to be. If you hold back any relevant information, 8s will feel like you've left them flapping in the wind and dangerously exposed. You don't want to lose an 8's trust. It takes a long time to get it back. So always lead with the truth. If you were to crown one person in all of history the king of beating around the bush, I think it would be Jesus. Especially in the Gospel of John, where he can't seem to say anything in a straightforward manner. No wonder the disciples were dumbfounded all the time. As I mentioned in the newsletter this week, I was saddened to discover that I had chosen male Bible characters so far in our series on the Enneagram. But I'm really glad to have found a female 8 to discuss today. Not only because women deserve as much, if not more, credit in the Bible as men, but also because I love female 8s. Crone and Stabile wrote that female 8s are the most misunderstood and unfairly treated number on the Enneagram. In our culture, a male 8 is respected and revered. People lionize men who kick butt and take names. Sadly, we all know the word people use to describe a woman in the workplace or the community who takes charge, stands up for what she believes in, refuses to take crap from people, and gets the job done. I don't need to spell it out for you. Many female 8s go through life scratching their heads and thinking, why do people experience and treat me this way? Will the easily threatened and insecure please put a sock in their yaps and let these gifted women out of the penalty box so they can get on with their lives without further interruption? Thank you, Susan and Crow. I'm convinced that my mom is an 8. I made her come today because she never beats around the bush. And I have several powerhouse friends who are definitely 8s. One in particular is the senior executive director of a nonprofit called Lift Chicago that journeys alongside parents on the path to economic mobility. So I will take any opportunity to cheer on a lady 8. In all of their strength and intimidation, 8s might seem self-confident and secure, but in reality, they are motivated by the desire to protect themselves. In our story from John chapter 4, the Samaritan woman, who I'm going to call Sam, goes to draw water at noon. What is significant about noon? Well, it's the hottest part of the day. Not many people are going out at that time. So maybe she was an introvert. Maybe she needed some alone time. We don't know why she chose to come at noon. We only know that she didn't want to run into anyone. And she definitely didn't expect to be approached by a Jewish man. When Jesus asks for water, he is asking for hospitality. It is a physical representation of the promise between supplier and drinker that no harm will be inflicted during their interaction. Jesus was on her turf. Samaria was the land of her people. 8s have a hard time trusting people. Giving Jesus water was an expression of trust, even if she questioned his uncommon request. It puts all parties involved at ease, especially an 8. But 8s love a good verbal skirmish, so she can't just give him the water he asked for without some much-needed information. How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a woman of Samaria? This question is interesting for many reasons. First, for a woman to come out point blank and ask something of a man, any man, was not traditional. Jewish men or men from any culture or religious background would not be seen talking to an unknown woman alone. Second, Jesus is in Samaria. Samaritans were the enemies of the Jewish people because they had a differing opinion about where God should be worshipped. Does any of this sound familiar? On Mount Gerizim, or in Jerusalem, at the temple. Sam is an unnamed female of an enemy people. But clearly, none of these obstacles seem to bother her. So after Jesus not so clearly shares that he could offer her living water, she asks a couple of pertinent questions. Where's your bucket? Where do you get this living water? Who do you think you are? Are you greater than Jacob who built the well? Sam is not afraid to challenge Jesus' ability to match the gift of one of the great forebearers of the faith, Jacob. But Jesus just keeps challenging her right back. He basically says, Jacob was cool and all, but the water I offer, you'll never be thirsty again. 8s want people to challenge them right back. They admire strength. They won't respect you if you're not willing to stand toe to toe with them. They want others to be their equals and stand up for what they believe. The last thing you want to do is hoist the white flag when 8s start pounding their chests, trying to push you around. Sam, in hopes that this magical water will decrease her daily chores, still misses the point and demands this living water from Jesus. You see, 8s are prone to seeing things in black and white. Much like an Enneagram Type 5, they like clarity and facts. And Jesus is still being metaphorical and vague. Then the conversation shifts. Jesus is no longer trying to get Sam to understand what he means by living water. Instead, he has decided to use her 8 abilities for good when he asks her to call her husband. I will share that it's been said that Jesus points out her marital status because she is considered a sinner or immorally compromised, but nowhere in the text does Jesus allude to this judgment. There are a few different reasons why she could have been married 5 times and now lives with a man who is not her husband. That isn't our business, and Jesus just didn't care. In this moment, he chooses to transform her into an evangelist. Sam still needs to know more about her companion at the well. You're a prophet. This is a statement of understanding, not a question. The question comes after, as if she requires Jesus to prove himself by asking, "Where do you say we should worship?" A time is coming where we can worship God anywhere, is a paraphrase of Jesus' response. Messiah is coming, says Sam. I am he, says Jesus. Did you know that this is one of the longest dialogues in the Gospels? And it's with a woman from Samaria. Jesus treats her as a serious conversation partner, the first person in the Gospel to whom he makes a bold statement of self-revelation. The Samaritan woman's story summons churches to re-examine the boundaries they set around women's witness and work, much like we are challenged to accept female eights as innovators, leaders, and dreamers. Spiritually healthy, self-aware eights love to do what others say can't be done. When their energy is harnessed and channeled, they can change the course of history. At the end of our story today, we find Sam running to her village to share the good news with anyone who will listen. And if you were to go on reading in chapter 4, you would find a city transformed by the woman's testimony. Sam is a healthy 8, caught in a context where she was most likely outcast for her directness, decisiveness, and self-confidence. The wounding message for an 8 is that the world is a hostile place where only the strong survive, and the weak or innocent get emotionally beaten up or betrayed. So put on your armor and never let them see your soft side. Jesus didn't only offer her living water that day by the well, but he offered her the opportunity to be who God created her to be in a time and a place where she wasn't accepted. So today, for those of you who are thinking or know that you might be an 8, I want you to know that we accept your challenge. If you want to dish it out, we can take it. Because we love your passion and your fearlessness. We will not be intimidated. But we are also here for you when you're ready to express your vulnerability. We won't control you or betray your trust. You are brave. You can open yourself up to love. It is worth the risk. You are brave. You can open yourself up to love. It is worth the risk. You are brave. You can open yourself up to love. It is worth the risk. I'll leave you with this prayer. Loving protector, watch my back as I wade into the waters of waiting, for I do not trust easily. Empty me of my need to assert myself. Empty me of my need to blame others when things don't go my way. Soften the walls surrounding my heart, the rigid boundaries, my strong opinions. Embrace me as I wait, so that I may know the richness and stillness and open my heart to the affection of others. May I be present in my waiting without judgment and without fear, knowing that you abide with me always. Ground me in your gentle and loving presence, that I may be gentle and loving with myself and others. Remind me each day that we are all one, and that in our unity we find hope. Amen.